Welcome to the second session of Discovering Tut. The saga continues. We had read about King Tut, a very powerful pharaoh, how he died at a very young age, and his death was so mysterious. For a long time, people did not know where his tomb was, where his mummy was, until Howard Carter in 1922 discovered his tomb and his mummy. Then we read about how the CT scan was started and how the atmosphere of mystery has been built up by the author A.R. Williams. And then we read how the tourists they were talking to each other in very low sounds because all of them were aware of the curse. Now let us see a past of King Tut, not exactly King Tut, past when Howard Carter he discovered the mummy. What did he find? What were the things that he found and what were the problems that he faced. So let us begin from page number 23, para number 3. The mummy is in a very bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s, said Zahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiques. Now this man, he said that Carter did something with that mummy, and because of that thing, the mummy has come into a very bad shape. Now, as he says, what does he say? Let us see. As he leaned over the body for a long first look, Carter, Howard Carter that is, was the British archaeologist who in 1922 discovered Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. Futile is useless, like for a long time the search was useless, and then he found and discovered the mummy. Then its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, hastily is in a hurry. Ransack means embedded. An antique is something which is so old. So it was embedded in antique, but still all the contents were complete. That shows that Egyptians were masters of mummification. The mummy was kept as it is. Even the flowers inside the coffin also they had dried, but they had not withered. So let's see that. They remain the richest royal collection ever found and have become part of the pharaoh's legend. Stunning artifacts in gold, their eternal brilliance meant to guarantee resurrection. I told you that word, and resurrection means life after death. The Egyptians believed in life after death. They thought that after their death, they would need their body, they would need the gold. So they used to preserve the dead bodies, and on the coffin lid they used to make the face, and then with the dead bodies they used to lavish the mummies with gold, because they thought that these riches they would require in their afterlife. So this is what is known as resurrection, and it caused a sensation at the time of the discovery and still gets the most attention. If you search, you'll find that King Tut's mummy, King Tut's, and the information about King Tut has been searched a lot on Google. The reason is that he was one of the richest pharaohs, and he died at a very young age. And this is how they find they are after this, and they want to get information about this. But Tut was also buried with everyday things he'd want in the afterlife: board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine, everything. That means it's not only gold. Besides that, they used to bury the things of everyday use also, so that the person requires them. Then, after months of carefully recording the pharaoh's funerary treasures, students, funeral is the burial ceremony. So, funerary treasures means those treasures with which King Tut was buried with. So, after recording all that, then Carter opened the coffins. And when he opened, what did he see? Just see there. Carter began investigating his three nested coffins. I told you nested coffins, when they opened the first, they found the second. When they opened the second, they found the third. So nested, one inside the other. Then began investigating his three nested coffins. Opening the first, he found a shroud. Shroud, you understand? Coffin cloth. A shroud adorned with garlands of willow and olive leaves, wild celery, lotus petals, and cornflowers. The faded evidence of a burial in March or April. See, if they have buried the mummy with these flowers, that means that those flowers must be available in that season. That's why they must have buried these flowers also. It shows that the burial must have been in March or April, because that's the spring season when these flowers bloom. Then, when he finally reached the mummy, though, he ran into trouble. And this is important. He ran when he opened the coffin. There was some problem. What was that problem? The ritual raisins had hardened. If you must be knowing what are ritual raisins. Raisins in Hindi we call them jadi booty. See, mummies, the Egyptians when they prepared the mummy, they used to embalm the mummy with raisins. So because of that, what happened? These resins became hard, and inside the mummy used to remain as it is. The body used to remain as it is. So they used to embalm it, cover it with resins. So the ritual resins had hardened, and as they had hardened, this was the bottom. So it cemented on the bottom of the gold coffin. That means it stuck to the bottom of the gold coffin. So what did Carter do? Initially, he tried to lift it, like he applied some legal force and he tried to remove it. When nothing happened, he did something. Just see. The ritual's resins had hardened, cementing Tut to the bottom of his gold coffin. No amount of legitimate legal force, that means he should not break the mummy, that force. Legitimate force could move them. Carter wrote later, what was to be done? The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt, and Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. For several hours, he set the mummy outside in the blazing sunshine that heated it to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. He thought that maybe because of this heat, the resins would melt. But this doesn't happen, students. Cement also, if you mix once with water, afterwards, if it has hardened, however hard you just keep on the water flows on that particular thing, even then the cement would not melt. Now the same thing, nothing budged, nothing separated. He reported with scientific detachment that the consolidated material had to be chiseled away from beneath the limbs and trunks before it was possible to raise the king's remains. Do you know what is the chisel? If you have seen any sculpture making statue, they have a small chisel. They take the chisel in the hand and with the hammer they try to make the statue. That is known as chisel. So what did he do? He chiseled the mummy. He was an archaeologist. He should have understood the mummy is invaluable. He could have destroyed the gold coffin. But he did not destroy the gold coffin. He destroyed the mummy and nearly lifted the head, and he severed every major joint. Because Tut's body had cemented to the bottom of the gold coffin, he kept the coffin safe. So people afterwards blamed Carter. You are an archaeologist. You should have kept in mind that information was more valuable as compared to treasure. But Carter, in his defense, he said something. What did he say in his defense? Let's see. In his defense, Carter really had little choice. If he hadn't cut the mummy free, thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards and ripped it apart to remove the gold. He said, people knew the coffin is there. The thieves also knew afterwards now the coffin is there. So if they could come, they could circumvent the guards. That means they could surround the guards, beat them, then go inside, and they would have ripped the mummy apart. For them, mummy was not important. For them, treasure was important. I at least took care that I caused minimum damage. So this was what Carter told. Although it's a debate, some people blame Carter. Then Carter said something in his defense. So this is the matter of debate. But because of that, the mummy got destroyed. Not completely, but at places. Then, in Tut's time, the royals were fabulously wealthy, and they thought or hoped they could take their riches with them. For his journey to the great beyond, King Tut was lavished with glittering goods, precious collars, inlaid necklaces and bracelets, rings, amulets, ceremonial apron, sandals, sheets for his covering and toes, and the now iconic inner coffin and mask, all of pure gold. Even sandals, everything was made of gold. The sheets, the covers for his fingers, covers for his toes, the bracelets that were there, the amulets that were there, that means the charms that they used to wear, everything was made of gold. Then, to separate Tut from his adornments, Carter's men removed the mummy's head and severed nearly every major joint. Severed means damage. Every major joint was damaged. So people blamed Carter afterwards. Then, once they had finished, they reassembled the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with padding that concealed the damage. The bed where Tut now rests. If you go there, you can still see King Tut's mummy. Then, now students, we have been told something. This was about the past. Now let's come into the present, and let's now see the difference between our archaeologist of that time, archaeologist of today. 1922, Carter was not that much bothered about the mummy. Today, people would be more bothered about the mummy. So has archaeology changed in these years? Yes, and see a very good line which has been said. Archaeology has changed substantially in the intervening decades. Intervening means the time between 1922 and today. That means the time in between. Now in these decades, archaeology has changed. Focusing less on treasure, and more on the fascinating details of life. Now they focus less on treasure, they focus more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. Intriguing, complex. Intrigue means complex. Intriguing mysteries of death. It also uses more sophisticated tools, including medical technology. In 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery, an anatomy professor x-rayed the mummy. Students, all of them wanted an answer to the two questions. Okay, the answers to the two questions. They x-rayed the mummy in 1968. Anatomy professor did it. Then it revealed a startling fact. Beneath the raisins that cakes his chest, his breastbone and front ribs are missing. So if it is that below the raisins the breastbone and the front ribs are missing, that means they could not be missing because of what Carter did. They were missing at the time when he could have been murdered. So his the front ribs and the breastbone was missing. Then today diagnostic imaging can be done with computed tomography, which in short we call CT scan. Computed tomography or CT, by which hundreds of x-rays in cross section are put together like slices of bread to create a three-dimensional virtual body. Cross section means, students, if this is there, images are sent in this manner, cross section. So because of this, and they are sent in like a very small millimeter and pixels. So because of that, what happened, when the x-rays are sent, they prepare a 3D image. X-ray can only give a 2D image, but CT scan can give a complete 3D image. Then what more could a CT scan reveal of Tut than the X-ray? And could it answer two of the biggest questions still lingering about him? How did he die and how old was he at the time of his death? Okay, so now again a present, something about present, then again it goes, this whole article goes into the past and it tells you something about King Tut's history. Now I know many of you don't like history, but still this part is, it will tell you how King Tut had two names, Tutankhamun and Tutankhaten. So let us begin from Tut's grandfather or father, it's not known, but let's begin from the strongest ruler, and that was Amenhotep III. Okay, so now see, King Tut's demise was a big event even by royal standards. He was the last of his family line and his funeral was the death rattle of a dynasty. But the particulars of his passing away and its aftermath are unclear. People don't know what happened after that, but they obviously know what happened before that. So let's begin the history. Amenhotep III, Tut's father or grandfather, was a powerful pharaoh who ruled for almost 4 decades, 40 years, at the height of the 18th dynasty's golden age. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him and initiated one of the strangest periods in the history of ancient Egypt. People say that he was wacky. Wacky, they say strange behavior, weird behavior. Okay, people call Sanki such person. So that way. The history of ancient Egypt, the new pharaoh promoted the worship of Aten. Now this you have to keep in mind. Aten was the sun disk. These Egyptians, they had gods for everything. Now sun disk, they call it Aten. So he started the worship of Aten, changed his name to Akhenaten. If you see the name Akhenaten, the last word is Aten, that means sun disk. So in his name he wanted that suffix to be added, Aten. So he changed his name from Amenhotep IV to Akhenaten. Then what did he do? Something strange. Or servant of the Aten, and moved the religious capital from the old city of Thebes to the new city of Akhetaten. Even in the city, he called it Akhetaten, which had the last word Aten. Okay, now known now as Amarna. He further shocked the country by attacking Amun, a major god, smashing his images and closing his temples. Before he started the worship of Aten, people used to worship Amun. So what he did was he attacked all the temples of Amun, smashing the idols and closing down the temples, everything. Then it must have been a horrific time, say Ray Johnson, director of the University of Chicago's Research Center in Luxor, the site of ancient Thebes. The family that had ruled for centuries was coming to an end, and then Akhenaten went a little wacky. After Akhenaten's death, a mysterious ruler named Smenkhkare appeared briefly and exited with hardly a trace. He remained only for a few years, so much information we don't have it. Then came King Tut. Okay, then a very young Tutankhaten took the throne. Students, when he was born, he was also given the name Tutankhaten with the last word as Aten. So his name is Tutankhaten. Last word is Aten. Then took the throne. King Tut, as he is widely known today. The boy king soon changed his name to Tutankhamun. He replaced the last word Aten with Amun. So the name changed from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun. And he is known by two names and is widely known as King Tut. Then the living image of Amun and oversaw the restoration of the old days. He brought the old golden age back. He reigned for about 9 years and then died unexpectedly. People did not know how did he die. Then, regardless of his fame and the speculations about his fate, Tut is one mummy among many in Egypt. How many? No one knows. The Egyptian Mummy Project, which began an inventory in the late 2003, has recorded almost 600 so far and is still counting. See, they started preparing an inventory and started the plan that we'll do the CT scan from 2005. But from 2003, they started to record the mummies, this mummy, that mummy, like everything according to their time of discovery. Then the next phase, scanning the mummies with a portable CT machine donated by the National Geographic Society and Siemens, its manufacturer. King Tut is one of the first mummies to be scanned in death as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen. 2005, they started the CT scan, and the first mummy to be CT scanned was King Tut's mummy. He was given the privilege. So, was he royally ahead of his countrymen? Yes. Even while living, he was the king. Very young age he became the king. After death, when the mummy started to be CT scanned, like a very great king, the first privilege was given to King Tut's mummy. So he was royally ahead of his countrymen, even in life, even after death. Okay, so we are stopping here. Then the next session will complete the whole chapter. We'll discuss the question answers also. Today what have we done is, we have seen how Carter faced problems. What did he do to separate the mummy from the coffin? Tried legal force, then kept in the sun, then chiseled the mummy. Then he destroyed the mummy. We have been told how King Tut's mummy was lavished with gold, which things were there as the funerary treasures. Then we have been informed about the history of King Tut, what changes have come in archaeology, how King Tut changed his name from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun, all these things, and then why was King Tut royally ahead of his countrymen. All these questions we have done. The next session will complete the chapter. Thank you.